Welcome to the deep dive. This is where we take, a whole stack of sources, articles, research, our own notes, and really try to boil it all down, pull out the most important insights for you.
Exactly. We do the digging, so you get the core understanding.
And today, we really want you to think for a second about that world you see online every day. You know the one. That endless scrolls, all the smiling faces, these amazing luxury trips, lives that just look, well, perfect.
Uh-huh. Seems perfect.
It really does. But it's a performance, isn't it? A carefully crafted one.
It absolutely is. It's a digital facade, you could say, and that's really what our deep dive is about today. We're going to try and unmask that facade.
Look behind the curtain.
Yeah, explore the hidden truth behind those highlight reels, and crucially, understand the really profound, tangible impact that social media, especially platforms like Instagram, can have on our mental health. It's not trivial.
Not at all. So our mission today is pretty straightforward. We're going to unpack the sources we've gathered, pull out the key insights, maybe some surprising facts, and definitely some actionable strategies.
Things you can actually use.
Right. The goal is to help you navigate this digital landscape a bit better, give you the knowledge, and hopefully empower you to protect your own well-being. If you're already kind of grappling with this stuff, think of this as a deeper look, yeah.
A way to get some clarity, maybe some insights that go beyond just the surface level complaints.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Where do we start?
Well, let's start with the big one. The illusion of perfection itself. I mean, when you open Instagram, what hits you? What's flooding your feed?
Smiles, perfect travel shots, amazing food, fit bodies, dream jobs.
Exactly. It's overwhelmingly a highly selective view of life, isn't it? Often hyper-edited, too. You see those endless smiles, the extravagant vacations, the ideal bodies, snapshots of dream careers.
It's the curated showcase.
That's the perfect term. A curated showcase. It's like everyone's life is just one continuous perfect moment after another. Flawless, effortless, or so it seems.
Yeah, it's like watching, I don't know, a movie trailer that never ends. You only ever see the best bits, the most polished, attention-grabbing moments. Our sources kept hammering this point. Often what you're seeing is literally the best 5 seconds of someone's day, not the full movie.
It's definitely not the full movie.
You get the sizzle, right, not the steak. And you certainly don't see the hours of prep that went into that one shot or the, 50 photos they deleted before posting that one.
Or the messy reality surrounding it, like that perfect brunch photo.
Right.
You don't see the disaster in the kitchen or the argument that happened just before.
Right. Or the fact they burned the first batch of pancakes. It's all hidden.
And that's where we get to the hidden realities. This contrast, this gap between the shiny image and the unseen truth, it's huge, and we really need to talk about it.
So, behind that selfie.
Behind that effortless selfie, yeah, there could be huge stress about appearance. Or maybe they took 100 shots to get it right. Or maybe they're feeling incredibly lonely right at that moment.
Or the perfect couple photo.
Oh, yeah. That could have been snapped right after a massive argument, Or maybe they're going through a really rough patch. Moments before they stop speaking again, we just don't see that part.
And the fancy trips. The ones that make you feel like you're missing out.
Could be fueled by a mountain of credit card debt. Or maybe it followed months of grueling work they never show. Or, honestly, sometimes it's just clever filters and angles making a budget motel look like a 5-star resort.
Yeah.
It happens.
So what we end up with is this deeply misleading story, isn't it? A narrative of constant happiness, endless success, effortless perfection.
Stuff that just doesn't exist in the real world, not consistently anyway.
And our brains, well, they're wired to compare. We can't really help it. We're social creatures, right? We're constantly scanning, comparing ourselves to the group, trying to figure out where we fit.
It's how we're built.
But when the group norm we're comparing ourselves to is this hyper-edited, curated fantasy, well, it sets an impossible standard, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And this constant clash creates what psychologists call cognitive dissonance. That uncomfortable feeling when your own reality, the messy, complicated, up and down reality, bumps up against the polished perfection you see online.
That mismatch.
Yeah.
It's not just awkward. It can actually be really damaging.
It really can. And some of the newer neuroscience research is fascinating here. It shows this constant online comparison isn't just, keeping up with the Joneses like it used to be.
It's different.
It's activating specific pathways in the brain linked to reward and social status in a way face-to-face interaction doesn't, or at least not with the same intensity and frequency.
Because of the likes and followers.
Exactly. We're wired to seek belonging and status. Platforms like Instagram give us these immediate, visible metrics for it likes, comments, follower counts. It creates this unique kind of social comparison anxiety that can actually start to rewire how we assess ourselves by default.
Wow. So it's not just comparing to your neighbors anymore.
No. It's comparing yourself to this endless global stream of lives that look flawless, an impossible benchmark.
And I think we've all felt it, haven't we? You're just scrolling, maybe mindlessly, and then bam, that little pang hits you.
Mm-hmm. The not enough feeling.
Yeah. Not pretty enough, not successful enough, not happy enough, not traveling enough, whatever it is for you. It's insidious because it creeps in. It makes you question your own life, your own worth.
Even when objectively you might be doing perfectly fine.
Right. It feels very personal and often quite isolating.
And look, this isn't just feelings or anecdotes. There's actual hard data backing this up. The impact on mental well-being is measurable.
Okay, so what does the data say?
Well, a really significant finding came from a 2023 study by the Royal Society for Public Health in the UK. They surveyed young people aged 14 to 24 about various social media platforms.
Yeah.
And they ranked Instagram as the worst social media app for mental health in that age group.
Wow. The worst. That's a strong statement from a public health body.
It really is. When an organization like the RSPH flags a platform like that, it's because they're seeing a clear, widespread pattern of harm. It's not just minor annoyances, it's impacting well-being on a large scale.
So how do they even figure that out? How does a study like that work?
Well, the sources don't detail the exact methodology, but typically studies like this involve large-scale surveys, detailed questionnaires, maybe even psychological assessments given to a big representative group of young users. Asking about feelings of anxiety, self-esteem, body image satisfaction, sleep quality, symptoms of depression, feelings of loneliness, FOMO, all those key mental health indicators.
And comparing that across different platforms.
Exactly. They'd correlate usage patterns with these mental health outcomes.
Yeah.
For a public health body, the goal is to spot trends, identify risk factors in the environment, and a heavily used app like Instagram is definitely part of the environment for young people.
So Instagram coming out top, or rather bottom.
It signals that this isn't just about individual struggles. It points towards a broader public health issue demanding attention. It underlines that something seemingly casual, just scrolling an app, can have really serious systemic consequences.
And did the study specify what kinds of problems it causes?
Mm-hmm.
Beyond just a general bad for mental health?
Oh, absolutely. It broke down the specific negative consequences, things like significantly increased anxiety, pervasive body image issues, which makes sense given how visual it is.
Right.
Severe sleep problems, often linked to scrolling late at night, and that really pervasive fear of missing out, FOMO.
FOMO. Yeah, let's talk about that for a sec,
Yeah.
because it's more than just wishing you were at a party. Right?
Much more. It can actually drive impulsive decisions. Like, maybe you see everyone's vacation pics, feel that intense FOMO, and then book a trip you really can't afford.
Oh, I could see that.
Or, paradoxically, it can make you feel incredibly isolated, even while you're technically connected. You see everyone else's curated fun online, and you're just sitting there feeling left out of life itself.
That's a weird feeling. Connected but alone.
It's a strange paradox of the platform. The tool meant to connect us can actually amplify feelings of loneliness and inadequacy. It's like a constant digital reminder of what you don't have or aren't doing.
And the sleep problems you mentioned. That connects back to overall health too, doesn't it?
Massively. Sleep is fundamental. It's not just about feeling tired. It's crucial for cognitive function, emotional regulation, physical health, everything.
And scrolling late messes that up.
Definitely. The blue light from the screen suppresses melatonin, the hormone that tells your brain it's time to sleep. Plus, the content itself, the comparisons, the news, the notifications keeps your mind buzzing.
So it's harder to fall asleep, harder to stay asleep.
Right. And chronic sleep deprivation is linked to all sorts of nasty stuff. Increased risk of depression, anxiety, problems concentrating, weakened immune system, even long-term risks like obesity and diabetes.
It sounds like a vicious cycle. Scroll late, sleep badly, feel worse the next day.
Which might even make you want to scroll more as a distraction or a weird kind of coping mechanism. It's a really unhealthy feedback loop that's hard to break.
So it's clear there are real measurable impacts. And there's actually some simple science behind why we get so hooked in the first place, right? Why it feels so hard to just put the phone down.
That's right. It comes down to our brain chemistry, specifically a neurotransmitter called dopamine.
Ah, dopamine, the feel-good chemical.
Well, it's often called that, but it's maybe more accurate to call it the wanting or seeking chemical. It's what motivates us to repeat behaviors that the brain perceives as rewarding.
Like eating chocolate or winning a game.
Exactly. Those things trigger dopamine release. And so do likes, comments, positive notifications on social media. Your brain gets a little hit and says, ooh, that was good. Let's do that again.
So every notification is like a little reward.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And what makes it particularly powerful and potentially addictive is that social media often operates on what's called a variable ratio reinforcement schedule.
Okay, what does that mean in plain English?
Think of a slot machine. You pull the lever, and you don't know if or when you'll get a reward, but you know it's possible. That unpredictability is incredibly compelling.
So you keep pulling the lever or checking your phone?
Precisely. You don't know when the next like or a comment will pop up, but it could be any second. That variability keeps you hooked, keeps you checking, chasing that next little dopamine hit. It makes it really hard to regulate ourselves.
That makes so much sense. That little ping, the red notification bubble, it's like a tiny gamble every time.
It is, chemically speaking. And like any reward system, if you overstimulate it, if you're constantly chasing that unpredictable hit, it can lead to negative outcomes.
Like addiction.
Yeah, like an addiction to likes, where getting that validation becomes a primary driver. It leads to constant overthinking about what you post, the caption, the filter, the timing, trying to maximize engagement.
Agonizing over it.
Exactly. And it fuels that persistent anxiety about not being good enough online because your sense of worth gets tangled up with these external numbers.
Your self-esteem gets outsourced to the algorithm, basically.
That's a great way to put it. And when you outsource your self-esteem like that, you become incredibly vulnerable. Your worth starts to depend on the whims of the platform and the opinions of, often, strangers. It chips away at your intrinsic motivation, your internal sense of value.
Because true self-worth comes from
Within, right.
Yeah.
From your values, your actions, your character, your real relationships. Not from a fleeting dopamine burst triggered by a notification.
And it's scary how subtly this addiction creeps into daily life. I mean, think about it. How many of us grab our phones first thing in the morning?
Before even getting out of bed. Guilty.
Right. Or, sneak a glance during a conversation. Or while waiting in line. Even in the bathroom.
It becomes a reflex, doesn't it? Almost automatic. Not even a conscious decision sometimes. Just this ingrained habit driven by that subconscious pull for the next hit, the next update.
A little ritual we do without thinking.
Which brings us to a really important point. The unique vulnerability of young people, especially adolescents. They seem to be particularly susceptible to Instagram's negative effects.
Why is that?
It's largely down to brain development. The teenage brain is still a major work in progress, particularly the prefrontal cortex that's the bit responsible for things like impulse control, judgment, long-term planning.
The sensible part of the brain?
Kind of, yeah, and that part isn't fully mature yet. But at the same time, the limbic system, the emotional center, the reward center, is highly active and super sensitive during adolescence.
So more emotion, less control.
In a nutshell, yes. It means teenagers are naturally more prone to impulsive behavior, they're incredibly sensitive to social feedback and peer pressure, and they're right in the thick of figuring out who they are, forming their identity.
Okay, so you take that developing brain, highly sensitive to social cues, looking for rewards, and you throw it into an environment like Instagram.
An environment that runs on immediate social validation, constant comparison, and curated perfection. It's a potent mix, often a dangerous one.
Because every comment feels magnified.
Hugely magnified. Every perceived slight, every time they feel excluded, it hits harder. Their sense of self is literally being shaped in real time by these digital interactions, which, as we said, are often superficial, competitive, and not reflective of reality.
It sounds like trying to build your identity on quicksand.
That's a good analogy. During this critical period, the brain is trying to figure out social hierarchies, trying to solidify identity. Instagram presents this vast, often unforgiving social arena where appearance and perceived perfection are given huge weight.
And this leads to specific mental health problems for young people.
Yes, sadly. We see higher rates of pervasive low self-esteem. The sleep disorders we talked about are rampant. There's a significantly heightened risk for depression and, disturbingly, a really noticeable increase in eating disorders.
Eating disorders, that's serious.
Incredibly serious. And the link seems particularly strong with highly visual platforms like Instagram.
Just thinking about the potential long-term impact. An entire generation growing up with these pressures. How does that shape them as adults? Their relationships? Their resilience.
It's a huge question and a worrying one. If your foundational sense of self-worth is constantly tied to external digital metrics, it could lead to a future generation that is perhaps more anxious, more self-conscious, less able to cope with real-world imperfections, always chasing some manufactured ideal. It's a daunting prospect.
And you mentioned eating disorders specifically. That feels like a direct consequence of the visual pressure.
It does. Eating disorders are complex mental and physical illnesses, potentially life-threatening, and platforms that constantly bombard users, especially vulnerable young users, with idealized, often filtered and unattainable body standards, while they directly fuel body
It's
dissatisfaction.
making impossible goals.
Exactly. For a developing mind already struggling with identity and self-acceptance, this constant exposure can trigger or worsen disordered eating behaviors. It's a major public health concern linked directly to the visual nature of these apps.
Which brings us squarely to filters, doesn't it? The whole world of digital enhancement.
Oh, absolutely. We are deep in the era of digital enhancement. It's not just, making the colors pop anymore.
No, it's way beyond that now.
We're talking sophisticated tools for face tuning, smoothing skin, changing eye shape, slimming noses, body slimming, even adding fake abs or muscles.
Stuff that literally isn't there.
Precisely. It creates a beauty standard that isn't just hard to achieve, it's often physically impossible. It's not even real in the picture, let alone in real life.
Yeah.
It's a total fabrication presented as aspirational.
And yet,
Yeah,
we still compare ourselves to it. It's absurd when you say it out loud.
it is absurd, but we do it. Logically, we might know it's edited, but emotionally, that comparison still happens. Our brains aren't always logical about this stuff.
Is there data on how common filter use is?
Yeah, there was a sobering study in 2022 by Dove and TikTok, actually. It found that 80% of girls use filters or editing apps before posting a photo of themselves.
80%. That's staggering. 4 out of 5.
Staggering is the word. And what's maybe even more worrying is that many of those girls admitted they felt ugly or just not good enough without the filters.
Oh, that's heartbreaking. So the filter becomes the baseline.
It seems so. You use a filter because you feel inadequate, and then you feel even more inadequate without it because you've gotten used to the filtered version. It's this awful cycle of insecurity.
Fueled by a manufactured ideal that then gets internalized.
Exactly. And this feeling of being ugly without a filter, it's not just a passing sadness. It can directly contribute to things like body dysmorphia.
It is.
Body dysmorphic disorder, BDD, it's a mental health condition where someone becomes obsessed with perceived flaws in their appearance flaws that are often minor or even imagined by others.
And filters make that worse.
They can, absolutely. When your benchmark for normal or acceptable becomes a digitally perfected image of yourself, your real self can start to look flawed or wrong by comparison. There's even this term Snapchat dysmorphia. It describes people seeking cosmetic surgery specifically to look more like their filtered selfies.
Wow. Not like a celebrity, but like their own edited picture.
Exactly. Trying to achieve an ideal that only exists in software code. It makes genuine self-acceptance incredibly difficult when reality is constantly judged against this impossible filtered standard.
And the irony is, even the influencers, the people setting these trends sometimes,
They often admit it's not real. Many influencers are quite open about the pressure they feel, the staging involved, the fact that their posted life isn't their whole life or even their real life a lot of the time.
which just underlines how manufactured it all is. It's a performance.
A massive digital performance. And that brings us back to that brilliant quote, "Don't compare your behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel."
That quote really hits home, doesn't it?
It's probably the single most important piece of advice for navigating this digital world healthily. It perfectly captures the core problem.
Explain that a bit more, the behind the scenes versus the highlight reel.
Well, your behind the scenes is your actual life, right? The full, messy, unfiltered reality. The boring bits, the struggles, the doubts, the bad hair days, the everyday effort, the quiet moments nobody sees.
The full movie, warts and all.
Exactly. The highlight reel is someone else's carefully selected, edited, polished collection of their absolute best moments. Their most flattering angles, their most exciting trips, their biggest achievements, all presented for maximum impact.
A trailer.
Precisely. When you compare your messy reality to their polished performance, you're comparing apples and oranges. You're setting yourself up to feel inadequate. Recognizing that fundamental difference is step one. Remembering the picture is never the whole story.
Okay, so we understand the illusion, we see the impact, we know about the dopamine, the risks for young people, the filter issue. What can we actually do about it? How do we break the cycle?
Right, the practical steps. And our sources had some really good actionable advice here, things you can genuinely start doing today. First off, curate your digital space. Think of your feed like your home. You wouldn't fill your home with things that constantly make you feel bad about yourself, would you?
Hopefully not.
So apply that online. Consciously, deliberately unfollow accounts that consistently make you feel insecure, envious, or just generally less than. If someone's feed triggers negative comparisons, hit unfollow. No guilt. Protect your peace.
That feels like taking control back, like decluttering your digital house.
Exactly. And the flip side is to actively seek out and follow creators who are authentic, who share real experiences, who inspire you or make you feel good, not bad.
People sharing the full film.
Yeah, or at least being more honest about the editing process. There are tons of amazing creators promoting authenticity, vulnerability, body positivity, real-life challenges. Shape your feed to be uplifting, not draining. You control who you follow.
Okay, so curating the feed is step one. What else?
Setting healthy boundaries. This means concrete limits, like actually restricting your screen time on these apps. Maybe aim for 1-2 hours a day, max.
Easier said than done sometimes.
True, but most phones have tools now to help you track usage and even set limits or reminders. Use them. Another boundary. Mute or unfollow specific people or accounts you find toxic or negative. You don't owe anyone your attention if they consistently bring you down.
Protect your energy.
Absolutely. And a really powerful boundary, one that can make a huge difference, is implementing no phone hours.
Like specific times.
Yeah, a common suggestion is something like 9 p.m. to 9 a.m. Put the phone away. Out of the bedroom, ideally. Don't pick it up first thing.
How does that help?
Massively improves sleep, for one. Reduces that blue light exposure before bed, lets your mind wind down. It also just gives you back your mornings and evenings, fosters more presence in your actual life with actual people, reclaims time for yourself away from the digital noise.
Digital detox periods, basically.
Exactly. Scheduled disengagement. The psychological benefits are huge. Your brain gets a break from the constant stimulation. Anxiety levels can drop. You free up mental energy. It helps you reconnect with yourself and the real world. It's an active choice to regain control.
It's an investment in your own well-being.
Definitely. And maybe the most important mindset shift, the core message we need to internalize is this. Likes don't equal worth.
Say that again?
Likes do not measure your value as a human being. How many people view your story, how many hearts you get, how many followers you have. These are external metrics. They're designed by algorithms to keep you hooked. They are not a reliable measure of who you are.
So stop chasing the numbers. Focus on internal validation.
Precisely. Your worth comes from your character, your kindness, how you treat people, your passions, your intrinsic sense of being enough just as you are, not from a number on a screen.
Is there evidence that making these kinds of changes actually works? Like real-world examples?
Yes. Our sources shared a really compelling story about a student named Shruti from Delhi. She did something pretty radical.
What did she do?
She deleted Instagram from her phone for a whole month.
Wow. Cold turkey. That takes guts. How did it go?
Well, she said the first 3 days were awful. Really restless, constantly reaching for her phone, which just shows how ingrained that habit was, right? That dopamine-seeking loop.
The withdrawal symptoms.
Exactly. But then, after those first few tough days, she said something amazing happened. A profound shift.
What kind of shift?
She reported feeling a sense of peace she hadn't felt in ages. Her sleep got much better. She completely stopped comparing herself to others online because she wasn't seeing their highlight reels constantly. And overall, she just felt genuinely happier.
That's incredible. Just from deleting one app for a month.
It's a powerful little case study, isn't it? It shows those psychological phases. The initial withdrawal, then the adjustment, and finally the enhanced well-being that can come from disconnecting, from letting your brain recalibrate.
It really highlights her bravery and self-awareness, too. To recognize the problem and take that step.
Absolutely. And her story really drives home that core insight. Social media isn't inherently evil, it's a tool. But if you don't consciously control it, it will start to control you.
It becomes the master, not the servant.
You got it. Which leads us to the final, really crucial piece. Cultivating a healthier mindset internally. This goes deeper than just rules about screen time.
This is about changing how you think.
Exactly. Shifting that internal narrative, moving away from that nagging voice that says, I have to look perfect to be okay, and consciously replacing it with more affirming truths.
Like affirmations.
Yeah, practicing affirmations that ground you in reality and self-worth. Things like telling yourself and really trying to believe it, I am enough.
I'm enough. Simple but powerful.
Or reminding yourself, I am more than my photos, my value isn't pixel deep. And maybe the most liberating one, real life is messy and that's okay. Embracing imperfection.
Because perfection isn't real anyway, especially not online.
Precisely. These aren't just nice phrases, they're mental tools to rewire your thinking, redefine your relationship with yourself and the digital world. It's about fostering genuine self-acceptance.
And fundamentally redefining what value means away from those external metrics.
Yes, you absolutely do not need to look insta-perfect to be worthy. Full stop. Your value is intrinsic, and it's about consciously prioritizing what truly matters.
So what should that hierarchy of values look like?
Well, the sources suggest things like prioritize kindness to yourself and others over finding the perfect filter. Prioritize quality sleep over chasing likes late into the night. Prioritize real, deep connections with actual friends over accumulating superficial followers.
Choosing substance over surface.
Exactly. Investing in these real-world values, connection, rest, compassion, authentic experiences, that's what builds resilience. That's what leads to lasting fulfillment, not the quick, empty hit of a notification. It nourishes you in a way digital metrics never can.
That's the path to sustained well-being, isn't it? Not the quick fix.
That's the long game. So maybe the next time you instinctively reach for Instagram, just pause. Take one conscious breath.
And remind yourself.
Remind yourself, it's just the screen. It's not the full story.
That's a great takeaway. And look, if you're listening to this and you're really struggling with these pressures or anything we've talked about,
Please know you're not alone in feeling this way.
absolutely not. Reach out. Talk to someone you trust, a friend, family, maybe a professional counselor or therapist. Don't try to carry it all by yourself.
Your mental health is infinitely more important than any online trend or feeling of pressure.
It truly is. Choose peace over pressure. Every time.
So that's been our deep dive into the often tricky world of Instagram versus reality.
Our final thought. Stay real. Stay kind to yourself and others.
Yeah.
And maybe step offline completely once in a while.
You might be surprised how much richer the real world feels.